United States and Saudi Arabia have long been strategic allies, collaborating closely over several decades to maintain regional stability and manage the global flow of oil. However, in the rapidly changing world today, Saudi Arabia has started shifting its focus toward China. Riyadh's decision to sign a series of agreements valued at $50 billion with Chinese financial institutions clearly signals its intent to seek new partners to reduce reliance on the U.S. and meet its long-term economic goals. Recent actions by Saudi Arabia, including ramping up investments in China and pursuing multi-sector partnerships with Beijing, not only impact the U.S. but also raise concerns about the U.S. dollar's role in international transactions. What's happening, and why is the U.S. concerned about these developments? One key area of concern for the U.S. is the potential transfer of sensitive technology, infrastructure, and data from Saudi Arabia to China. With China's growing investments in Saudi Arabia, especially in the energy, technology, and logistics sectors, the U.S. fears that China's influence in the region will grow significantly, challenging America's position. In fact, the recent deals signed by Saudi Arabia with China go beyond simple investments. They also encompass technology and infrastructure collaborations, areas the U.S. has long considered strategically vital. Strengthening economic cooperation with China not only helps Saudi Arabia achieve its goal of economic diversification under the Vision 2030 plan, but also reflects a pragmatic diplomatic strategy. Historically, Saudi Arabia has heavily relied on oil to sustain its economy. However, under Vision 2030, Riyadh aims to reduce its dependence on this resource and expand into sectors such as tourism, technology, and industry. To do this, Saudi Arabia needs economically influential partners capable of delivering substantial investment, something China is well positioned to offer. A clear indication of Saudi Arabia's pivot is the country's recent surge in investment in China over the past year. From $100 million the previous year, Gulf investments in China reached $2.3 billion in 2023, a significant figure that underscores the rapid growth in economic ties between Saudi Arabia and China, despite U.S. concerns. This cooperation extends beyond investment to infrastructure and industrial projects, such as major agreements signed by Saudi Aramco, the world's largest oil company, to expand its investments in China. Notably in oil and industrial projects, Saudi Arabia and China are increasingly interested in using their own currencies rather than relying on the U.S. dollar. The two countries signed a currency swap agreement worth about $7 billion, enabling them to settle trade transactions in Saudi riyals and Chinese yuan. This step not only helps both nations avoid dependence on the U.S. dollar, but also represents a significant move toward China's goal of internationalizing the yuan, especially as Saudi Arabia is the largest oil exporter and China is the top energy consumer. Through these currency swap agreements, Saudi Arabia and China have opened a new channel for bilateral trade, allowing for more flexible transactions without being bound by international currency conversion requirements. The history of cooperation between Saudi Arabia and China didn't start recently. It dates back several decades. Diplomatic relations between the two nations were officially established on July 21, 1990, when Saudi Arabia decided to broaden its international relations beyond Western partners. During the first decade after establishing ties, trade between Saudi Arabia and China was fairly limited, focusing mainly on basic consumer goods. However, from the early 2000s onward, trade volume between the two countries surged from $3 billion in 2004 to $25.4 billion in 2008. One of the key drivers behind this growing relationship has been China's increasing energy demands. By 2015, China had become Saudi Arabia's largest trading partner, with trade volume reaching $42 billion in 2021. In the first quarter of 2023 alone, trade between the two countries hit $24.3 billion, including $13.7 billion in Saudi exports to China, mostly crude oil, and $10.7 billion in Chinese imports, including electronics and consumer goods. This development reflects the solid growth in trade ties between the two nations, with multi-sector cooperation that includes energy, technology, and manufacturing. The relationship between Saudi Arabia and China extends beyond economic cooperation, branching into political and cultural areas as well. A notable event was Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Saudi Arabia in December 2022, marking the signing of 35 agreements worth up to $50 billion, spanning various sectors. Beyond this, China also served as a mediator in the diplomatic rift between Saudi Arabia, and Iran in 2023, highlighting China's increasingly prominent role in the region. These actions have helped bolster China's presence in the Middle East, emphasizing Beijing's energy diplomacy strategy. Additionally, one of the most significant recent changes is the end of the petrodollar agreement, a 50-year-long pact between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia signed in 1974. This agreement required Saudi Arabia to sell oil exclusively in U.S. dollars and invest surplus oil revenues in U.S. Treasury bonds in return for U.S. military and economic support for Saudi Arabia. This agreement had bolstered the dollar's position as the world's primary reserve currency, playing a key role in sustaining the U.S. economy. However, in June 2024, the petrodollar agreement officially ended, allowing Saudi Arabia to sell oil in various currencies, such as the Chinese yuan, euro, Japanese yen, and even digital currencies. This shift could weaken the role of the U.S. dollar in the global energy market and reduce dependence on it in international transactions. If global demand for the U.S. dollar decreases, it could lead to higher inflation and interest rates in the U.S. while weakening the U.S. bond market. This change is not only economically significant, but also reflects a new trend in global geopolitics, as emerging economies gain influence and countries look to reduce reliance on the dollar. In summary, Saudi Arabia's decision to deepen ties with China can be seen as a sign of the shifting balance of economic power globally. This decision reflects Saudi Arabia's ambitions for economic diversification and signals that Riyadh is willing to adjust its foreign relationships to optimize national interests. Meanwhile, the U.S. will need to address this change and adapt its strategy to maintain its influence in the region. Please hit like, share, and subscribe to support our channel. Your feedback motivates us to bring you more in-depth and high-quality analysis videos in the future. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.